Tell me a little bit about yourself. Who are you?
I'm Karl, one of the folks, co-founders of Optimism, OP Labs, building the Superchain. It's crazy.
Well, what brought you to the idea of starting the Superchain vision?
Well, we've always been very opinionated about wanting to create a unified ecosystem, and so the kind of concept of multi-chain as it was first kind of announced was kind of like not super compelling. Like all of these disparate ecosystems, like I'd rather have some kind of level of unification just from a developer's perspective. I want to deploy to the whole ecosystem. I don't want to gatekeep my access. I just want to collaborate. And so we were trying to think about, okay, that's how we feel, but the technology on the tech side really, it lends itself better to a multi-chain infrastructure because you need to horizontally scale. You need multiple different chains. So it was kind of a natural evolution where we're like, okay, let's take that idea of unification, standardization, community, like broader community ecosystem development, and marry that with the technical underpinnings that made multi-chain make a lot of sense. And so it wasn't monochain, it wasn't multi-chain, it was the superchain.
And like this whole concept of superchain has really started gaining traction. And I assume there's been some challenges that have come with it, correct?
Oh, definitely.
Maybe you can highlight some of the challenges you've been through and how you guys have powered through it.
I mean, implementing the infrastructure in a way that is sustainable, minimal diff, that was definitely a big challenge. But I think one of the biggest challenges is actually defining what it means to be an OP chain and
what does it mean to be an OP chain exactly?
Great question. It means that you are following the OP chain, the super chain standard, that you are following the law of chain. So today there is essentially a registry of OP chains that exist that, have the identical code and share upgrades with the superchain. And at least I mean, it hasn't really fully formed yet, to be honest, so the upgrades are still disparate. We're still in early stages, but there's at least a commitment for that shared upgrades, whether or not it's technically implemented. But in the future, it's not about being a registry, it's not about being permissioned, even if it's governance. It's really about defining a standard and ensuring that every OP chain on that standard upgrades together.
So right now there's this whole movement going around with you're seeing Polygon CDK, seeing OP Stack forks. I know CK Sync is also doing something. Arbitrum Orbit is also something. You guys are the four powerhouses that I see. It's
Totally.
Like the big four of blockchain if we look at it. Why do you think that Optimism has currently adopted some of the most amount of chains with the OP Stack?
I mean, I think in general, we believe very strongly in open source, in forkability, in community and decentralization. And so that just means that we end up building out a tech stack, which of course the tech stack is amazing, and I can talk about exactly why it is so sick and modifiable and modular. But I really think that it's because of the community, it's because of the openness, it's because of the way that we, develop that really enables a huge amount of adoption that otherwise wouldn't be there. Really, right now we're in this moment where OP chain, the OP stack, is pretty limited. It actually doesn't do a lot of what we really want it to do. And so that's honestly why you see so many different forks, because you really have to fork the OP stack in a lot of ways to kind of get the custom feature that you happen to want on this, for your particular use case. But there's a goal, which is, let's develop the OP stack standard in a way that slowly but surely encompasses more and more of the different use cases, unifies all of the technology stacks, and brings everyone together on a shared standard. So it's incredibly important that we stay open for innovation purposes, in case governance is captured. Forkability is incredibly important, but it also gives people the ability to experiment and build out features that may not exist today, but will exist in the future.
Yeah, so like right now there's like over 24 to 25 different OP stack chains. 4 of them have opted into the law of chains and are super chains considered OP chains. The rest are all OP stack or OVM. Is it possible for these OP stack chains that have modified it to opt in a later stage? And what would you say to them to bring them over even quicker?
Totally. So we've thought a lot about this because we really do want to bring everyone in at all times. There are certain modifications that make it more difficult than others. So, there's definitely maybe, some modifications will actually be very easy to port over and you'll be able to migrate in. What I would just say is that I think that it's an amazing thing that we have all of these different forks. It really shows the power of the tech. It shows the power of open source. And without question, we want to support the features that everyone needs and bring them into, the fold with, standardized OP chains, with standardized upgrades, with, interoperability, all of the things that you get from being on a shared standard. Mm-hmm. We want to bring that to everyone. But in the meantime, it's amazing that we've got all of these people building out cool stuff.
Final question for you, because I know you're a busy man. What is your vision for the Superchain? What are you most excited about?
Wow. Okay. I'll say one thing, the vision for the Superchain, it's all about horizontal scalability. Like, we should be able to support the entire internet. That is the goal, to support the entire internet going on chain, basically. Mm-hmm. And what that means is we need to scale up not just a couple order of magnitudes. We need to scale up thousands, millions of times greater than we are today. So that is like the first thing. And we're building out the foundations for that with the roll-up software, with the Plasma software, like all of these different things come together with all these OP chains and interoperability. Boom, we'll get everyone on chain. That's the first component. The second component that I'm personally most passionate about is the fact that once we do bring everyone on chain, that we can create a decentralized way to sustainably fund public goods on the internet and make sure that we're continuing to develop that open source software, continuing to reward the contributors of the open source software, and hopefully reward, open contributors and positive sum people all over the world.
Retrospective funding throughout the year, basically.
Exactly, 100%. And that's like the amazing thing. Like, we're building out open source software, which is then going to an open source standard, which is then going to bring everyone together into funding more open source software, more development, better technology, better infrastructure, and just,
creating a positive loop.
Positive loop, yeah, exactly. In an open and decentralized way. So I genuinely hope, it's not guaranteed that we succeed at this, but I genuinely hope that we can succeed, that we do create this open internet for everyone,